everyone. So I decided to sit down today and I knew I was going to film an album review, but this is not the album I was anticipating to review. I was originally going to be reviewing the new Camila Cabello album, which came out this past week, but I don't know. I just wasn't really that felt. I just didn't feel like the project was exciting enough for me to really film a real review for. I really kind of do want, I know I do kind of review a lot of pop mainstream artists, and certain artists I do love and I'm going to want to talk about that are very mainstream. But there's also a lot of those artists that I kind of, I'll listen to them, if it's on and it's like, it's kind of fun or whatever. But I'm not really finding myself drawn to that sort of scene and world of pop music as much as I once was, at least right now. And there's other more alternative indie artists that you guys actually have been requesting I talk about. So that's the thing. I was like, no one's asking me to do a romance review from that Camila project. But I've had a couple people ask me about doing a review of HANA's new album titled Hanadriel, which came out last month. It came out on November 6th, I believe. It was like a Wednesday. I don't know why it came out on a Wednesday. And some people are like, oh, Arthur, are you familiar with HANA's music? And I'm like, yes, I am familiar with her music. I have been since 2016, I believe, whenever a little bit after that EP came out. But I really got into her because I saw this series of music videos that Grimes did with HANA in Italy and in Europe, like those beautiful videos for songs like Butterfly and Chimera and Underwater. Underwater is my absolute favorite HANA song. That song I listened to nonstop for like 6 months straight after that. Like seriously, huge replay value for me. And the music video for it, I was just absolutely entranced by. Apparently it was just filmed on an iPhone, but it was just absolutely gorgeous. And ever since then, I knew that HANA was an artist that I needed to keep my eye on. And so finally, we actually have a new album from her. I don't think she's actually released a full body of work besides that EP. So this album, Hanadriel is like a weird American way of saying it, but Hanadriel, I guess is how I should say it. I'm really excited to get into talking about this record, though I will be completely honest with you. There might have been a slight reason why I didn't absolutely jump on board with reviewing this album when it did come out a month ago. And that's because I will say this up front, and I'm always going to be honest and, not BS these reviews. There were a lot of songs that were a little bit of a letdown for me, but that's just because I think the, anticipation and the excitement around this was so high, and I was just basically expecting every song to sound exactly like Chimera or Underwater. And although we still get those gorgeous soprano ethereal vocals, the songs are, quite actually more experimental and a little more free form in terms of structure. And the melodies don't necessarily jump off the page for a lot of the songs. And I will say this, this album is really unique in that this album was made in the span of about 4 weeks. And well, the production element of it, I think a lot of some of the lyrics and stuff she'd written beforehand, but the actual production and mixing of this album took place in about 4 weeks this fall. And on top of that, she live streamed pretty much the whole process on Twitch. So you could all watch that. I watched maybe about 20 minutes of it, and then I would have watched more. I just had other things I had to do, and I kind of missed it. It was over before it even started. I mean, 4 weeks can go by like that. And so I think that's just completely ingenious. I love that HANA is taking us behind the curtain, letting us see how, all the bleeps and bloops are put together, in mixing. And I mean, she's just doing it in her bedroom. It's not in some fancy LA studio, just with, Ableton and some basic recording. I mean, she's got some state of the art stuff, but it's still kind of basic, if you know what I mean. It's basic, but high end. You just need that one good microphone. You just need that one good, mixing station, and you're kind of set to go with your laptop and everything. And so I think that it was really cool to see her document this process like that. And I kind of feel like that overshadows the actual album a bit itself. And, now that I've heard it, I actually listened to it once, and then there were several songs that jumped out at me. And then before filming this review, I was like, oh, I haven't heard a lot of these songs more than once. So I should probably give these a second listen. And I will say that a couple songs definitely improved, I think, upon repeated listens, because I do think there are some real growers on this album. But I will say that upon first listen, the tracks that jumped out to me, well, surprise, surprise, Chimera 2.0. That's the closing track. And when I saw that title, I was like, yes. I mean, why not, rehash something that was just so golden, right? It's very much kind of like a club dance floor remix of that song. And in some ways, I mean, it's cool. It sounds like a cool vibe, but it doesn't necessarily bring anything that new to the song. So I kind of do see it as just a remix version. It's not like its own thing at all. It's very much sort of in the shadow of the actual Chimera song, which is so, melodic and beautiful and lush and produced. The other song that really stuck out to me was Cowgirl Bebop, which I think is a hilarious title. It's a bit of a Western allusion there to title it that, and it's just her at the guitar. But there's a lot of reverb on the guitar, which is unusual. It's not something you usually hear with acoustic leading country tracks, but it works because it adds that sort of a misty quality that a lot of the record has, because there's a lot of reverb on everything. Another song, Moonwell, there's several instrumentals that I was really drawn to. There were several songs that definitely sounded to me a lot like kind of video game soundtrack music. Moonwell was probably one of the most calming and serene and ethereal, just because it was this simple piano melody that, although I do kind of wish a little more happened with it, it's very repetitive. There's this swell of ambient, kind of soft electronics that also come along with this like very, echoey space that the sound is creating. It's very melancholic and elven. Something that, I mean, we're getting kind of cyborg HANA in the album cover, but also something that we are getting is very ethereal elven. And in the album title itself, we are actually getting for those of you who are, well, I'm assuming this is what it is. I haven't actually heard her say this, but for those of you who are Lord of the Rings fans, I'm assuming the title of this record is a play on the name Galadriel, which is the, high elven queen of the Lord of the Rings universe, that's in the Lord of the Rings films and in Tolkien's Legendarium and stuff. And she's sort of this one of the most powerful elves that are still on Middle Earth at the time of Lord of the Rings. So definitely channeling that energy, this arcane magic, speaking of another track title. And so I get a feeling, just even looking at the track titles, that the aura and ambience of this record is right up my alley, even though, like I said, there's very much sort of this like also kind of techno cyborg feel to the album cover. It's not completely organic and just like forest and elven. It's a blend of both, which I think is great, because it's electronic music, so it's got the organic mixed with the synthetic. But yes, we do get some more pop moments on this record for sure. But a lot of the songs are kind of a little bit more kind of mid-tempo. Hannah kind of just cruising along with this very sort of sometimes wandering melody line that doesn't quite find its footing. Songs like Satellite and Arcane Magic are two that just jump to mind to me. I hate to say it, they're just kind of my least favorite, particularly the opener Satellite. There's something about the recording quality. Hannah, her vocals were so present on her EP. There's something kind of muted a little bit, and also, like, I don't know if it's the mixing, but it does kind of feel a little bit more like a demo. And again, I'm sorry the lighting is the way it is. I know I need to get my good light back, but it's been borrowed by someone, so apologize that the lighting is kind of all messed up. But there is something kind of demo-like about some of these recordings that don't feel fully fleshed out. And maybe that's a bit what she was going for. This album does have a little bit more of a mixtape feel, just because, it was released on a Wednesday and, it's like made just in a shorter time frame, kind of live streamed. It was this experiment. And yet at the same time, it wants to be taken seriously as like this full-bodied, 12-song project. And, there is a lot to dissect. I mean, the lyrics on this record are as ethereal as ever, and they're just as existentially dire and full of despair as I would love. Here, hey there, quitter, I can sense you're tasting bitter. Fear thy sister. This is from Arcane Magic, by the way. I found you, I see you, I feel you. I don't fear you, no. See the look in your eyes, now you know the fire I hold. Lead you inside to a place that only I go for you. Feel the flames, they've been burning inside every day, but does it scare you to know that I don't feel the pain when the weight of the world is in the play and the fate of the game is moving my way? Broken I was, frozen I was, hoping to find out what went missing. Now whispers fall on empty tears. You cannot dry an absent tear. A lot of the lyrical content, I think, has this feeling of I became so desperate, I just kind of rose above things, but not necessarily in the most triumphant way. It was like through depression, through having to go through so much pain, I became sort of numb to it all, but ultimately became so much stronger. There's this real feeling of resilience, but like kind of relying on not necessarily the brute strength to get there. It's more of like relying more on your feminine nature and like trusting the spiritual aspect of the universe and falling back into, you know, kind of running away into the forest to basically fortify your soul. That's sort of the theme of a lot of these songs, and I'm all about that. Anxious Alien is sort of interesting because this track definitely, someone said in the YouTube comments, and I have pardon, I'm stealing this, that it basically sounds like Alanis Morissette in the 21st century, which, by the way, Alanis is not, you know, Alanis has made music in the 21st century. She's not that passe yet. But this definitely has a more 80s rock sound mixed with very kind of, you know, electronic contemporary alternative. And I like that it has a little bit more of that attitude, even if it's not so much my style. But I am willing to justify, and I am willing to open up my eyes and see I'm alone all of the time. I love the title Anxious Alien because I think there's no better fitting description for me because I always have felt like I'm an alien on this planet. And one thing I'm definitely crippled by is anxiety and loneliness and despair and all of those things. But we don't cry and we'll never die. Do you feel alive in overdrive? Yeah, I'm so antsy. I am going out of my mind, but that doesn't fit into the design. So I guess I'll just hide. I'm so sad. Does anyone like me? I'm terrified that no one will miss me if I don't abide. So, you know, if I decide to break the rules a little bit and not go against society, am I going to piss everyone off? Am I going to be just completely alone all the time? Am I always going to feel like an alien? And ultimately, it's, you know, battling that in the chorus and saying, but you know what? Despite society making me feel that way all the time, I'm going to remember, I'm going to stay in my truth that I am where I'm supposed to be. I am home. I'm not just completely on foreign soil. Like, this is where I'm meant to be. So this song is like processing all of those emotions, and I think a pretty decent track. Okay, I have to talk about Creatura. I thought it was Creatura, but no, Creatura, as she says. This is probably one of, you know, I was like wanting underwater HANA vocals, right? Well, this is probably the track that came the closest to giving us that range. I'll wait until the sun goes down. I'll wait until you come around. I wait until you won't be found. I've held it in and made it this long, but the silence has become too loud. I'll be your Creatura. I see the desire in your eyes. I see you think that I'm your prize. Oh, my dear, that's not so wise. I've kept it in, but it's still building. Time has come for me to let it out. And the most of the song is just her doing these gorgeous sort of operatic wails. And there's definitely a bit of a damsel in distress kind of aura, very kind of fantasy, like I said, elven, operatic, you know, medieval princess feel, which is something I come to expect from, you know, like artists like Grimes and HANA, who are at once so innocent, docile, and feminine, but also at the same time have such a middle finger up, you know, at the same time, like so punk and hardcore. But you can really hear like more expression in her delivery, especially of Creatura. You know, it's very dynamic and it's also got a lot of underbreath to it, which kind of gives it more presence. And like I said, I feel like the presence of her voice is a little missing on some of these other tracks. Black Orchid. This was a song that, as AJ would say, put a mark to it. This was definitely a song that I would have put a mark to. It's really up-tempo and it reminds me of Ray of Light by Madonna a little bit. Just the pulsating kind of William Orbit-like production. It sounds like something, like a song like Skin, for example, off of that record, with the, minor chord, progression in the melody and the, like, kind of slightly exotic vocal deliveries coming through, interweaving into, like, a song that just sort of is constantly propelling forward. That's an interesting track for sure. I already talked about Moonwell, like I said, a gorgeous track. I want to talk about Hanadriel's theme. Again, we're getting some gorgeous vocal harmonization and layering on this track. This song probably feels the most Enya. And then at the same time, it also has a very light and airy kind of butterfly wing sounding electronic backing to it that comes in to pick up the tempo and give the beat to it. Again, like a beautiful layered sample that just sort of soars on its own. Again, I mean, I would definitely put that on and just sort of light a candle, go in the bath, and just sort of like meditate a little bit. Um, so it's definitely not none of these songs are bad. That's the thing. I think, like I said, the expectations I had were so lofty. But if I did have to say there was another song I'm not so crazy about, it would have to probably be New Leaf. Just because I appreciate, the lighter kind of instrumentation, and I mean, it's a cheerier sounding song, even though lyrically it's not always so cheery. But there's just something missing for me. It does feel like a little bit filler. And it's again like it's a little bit more pop, but like demo pop, like to me, and a little bit, I don't know, a little basic. And I mean, again, I don't necessarily mean it's bad. I just, like I said, compared to other songs, I am, just trying to give my honest opinion on some of these songs. Some of them jump off the page more than others. And I think Orca kind of falls into the same category a little bit for me as well. So yeah, like I said, highlight tracks for sure is definitely Cowgirl Bebop, Chimera 2.0, just mostly for the sample. And then Moonwell and probably Anxious Alien and Creatura. Those are my favorite songs. Black Orchid as well. Black Orchid is pretty good too. Lyrically, I think the most interesting song is Black Orchid. I don't really want to think about the ways they used to get to me. I remember when the words they said could make me bleed. I don't really want to get into how you feel about me. I just really want to hold you down and make you see when the world we love is melting into tragedy and the ones we trust are losing their sanity. But I know, and it goes on and on. I remember when they said to me that nobody could change anything. Well, here I am, and here I'll be. Yeah, here we are. We're ready. This song kind of makes me think of Greta Thunberg a little bit right now. Just, power of like youth who have been ignored. People don't expect, the leaders to come from people who no one has really saw, coming from the shadows out into the like open. But don't underestimate, and like the also, references to an orchid. Orchids bloom for a very short period of time, that there really is so much beauty, but it's fleeting, and the clock it keeps ticking. Open up and see. So, time is, fragile, and like we need to let love in and kind of make change happen because there's only so much time. I guess that's sort of what I'm getting from these lyrics. But yeah, overall, a pretty good album. Not, necessarily like the best thing I've heard in 2019 by any means. I do really love Hana as an artist, and I'm going to continue to really be excited to see what else she puts out. I know she put out a song called Black Hole, which is not on this album. She said something about there might be another album coming out in 2020, which reminds me, I need to make a video talking about 2020 and what I'm predicting to happen in music. So I'll probably be doing that before the end of the year. Boy, I have so many videos I need to film. So I'm apologize, this video is not quite as long as some of my others. Some people may like that. Others may be like, you didn't talk about every single song. And I'm just like, I don't have everything. I don't have things to say about everything sometimes. I just like the music to speak for itself, Like, sometimes I really do feel like it just does a better job than I could ever do of trying to explain it. The music doesn't want to be explained. But anyway, so again, like I said, hope you enjoyed this video. Like and comment if you did. Subscribe if you have not already to this channel, because there'll be more music reviews coming. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful, blessed day. Peace, love, and light. Bye.